What he does is he takes it, and with his 100 geniuses, he's got some very brilliant young people working for him that dress much worse than him, actually.
Yeah,
they dress in just T-shirts. You wouldn't know they have 180 IQ.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, you wouldn't know they have 180 IQ. They just wear T-shirts and stuff. They dress even worse than the richest man on the face of the earth. What are we supposed to do about that? Because it's true, the richest man on the face of the earth does dress like he works behind the counter somewhere. But I guess he does all right. Don't worry about him. He's doing just fine. And a very merry Wednesday to you all. It's Hump Day. Hump Day in the Clinton household. And that ought to mean that it's Mailbag Day here at the Chris Plante Show as well. I've been screwing that up a lot lately, though, I've got to say. I was texting with Kevin last night, who's helping us on that, and I keep the news is so overwhelming these days that I come in prepared to do 3 hours of radio, and then it's a Mailbag Day. I have to get to Mailbag. And then while we're on the air for 3 hours, another 2 hours of news comes in over the transom, and I'm just treading water trying to keep up with all the madness that the Democrat Party is hurling at us. And last night, a lot of stuff happening last night and yesterday, too. President Trump at Mar-a-Lago speaking to the press until the press is exhausted, and then Trump moves on to his next episode, and boy, he's got about 10 episodes a day. He's the opposite of Joe Biden in every imaginable way. Remarkable stuff. Remember when Joe Biden said he was going to take Donald Trump out behind the barn? Is that what he said, the barn? Behind the gym or something? And that's a little weird, the gym. And he's going to, like he was going to beat him up or something. My grandmother would beat up Joe Biden, but never mind that. And Donald Trump would throw him off a rooftop like it's the Gaza, something like that. So welcome back. We have a great many things going on. President Trump, his Secretary of State, meeting with his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, who has been around for a long, long time, since the days of the Soviet Union. He's a bad guy. He carries a straight razor in his shoe. He's that kind of Soviet. Speaking of throwing people off of rooftops, that's their foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov. And the talk's going on. It's the first stage where it's the ministerial level, where their foreign minister and our Secretary of State, they sit down and they talk, and they set the table and arrange for the meeting with the principals, as they call them. That'd be Vlad the Impaler Putin, the communist murderer. That'd be Donald Trump, and then presumably Volodymyr Zelensky at some point, too. But the news media is starting fires all over the place because they want nuclear war, civil war and nuclear war. They're torn. They think maybe they can achieve both. The news media, they're not on the side of civilization because they're the left, and their political agenda is first and foremost, the political agenda. And third or fourth, there's conveying information accurately. Doesn't happen very often. Remarkable stuff. But President Trump, his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, sitting down with Sergei Lavrov, trying to get the ball rolling on peace talks to end the war in Europe, Russia and Ukraine. And the Democrats and the media, but I repeat myself, are throwing rocks through windows about all this. And for his part, Volodymyr Zelensky is being a pain in the rump as well. And he's going, well, why am I not there? Sit down and shut up. Just sit over there and count your billions. Good. Where's your yacht? Where's your private plane? How about all your friends? Your house in Switzerland, where is that? Let us know about that and get back to me later. And what have you been doing? By the way, Volodymyr Zelensky was with the senior Trump administration leadership at the Munich Security Conference about a week ago, spent all the time in the world there. But right now, this is the peace talks going on, what they always called during the good old Cold War days, which were better, the ministerial level. Their foreign minister, the killer Sergei Lavrov, old-time Soviet communist, ruthless, cutthroat, and a very capable diplomat, too, representing the interests of his country, Russia, which would kill your dog just to, steal its collar. But that's another thing for another day. And Volodymyr Zelensky, why am I not at the table? Well, because we've got a Secretary of State and a foreign minister, and you're the president of a B-pole country that's at war. Just sit down and be grateful that anybody's talking about you at all. You'll be invited when it's appropriate, because he'll be at the table when you got Putin and Trump and then Volodymyr Zelensky, who is definitely not the lead dog in this whole thing. But we've got that going on. And for a nice change of pace, there are actually talks going on at a table having to do with peace in Europe and stopping war in Europe. Not something the Democrats even thought of. Joe Biden didn't lift a finger. Not sure if he's capable of lifting a finger at this point. But remarkable stuff. And the media is very angry with Trump, right? Because they don't want peace talks. They want the military-industrial complex to prosper. And that's our media, because they're not liberals. They're the left. And the left, biggest bunch of murderers, warmongers in the history of the world. But setting that aside. Also, the savages in the Gaza. We're going to release more hostages. Did I mention that a bunch of them are dead? Because we're going to drag the bodies out and give them back to you. And this is, why we have drones with air-to-ground missiles on them to kill these savages. But the savages still holding hostages and acting like they're generous and gracious. And the New York Times agrees. They're going to release hostages. Aren't they nice? The New York Times wants to date them, wants to take them to Martha's Vineyard and spend a long weekend at Gayhead. I think they changed the name of Gayhead, an actual town on Martha's Vineyard, Gayhead. I think they changed the name of it to a Native American town because, well, we'll leave that one alone for now. So we've got that going on. Also, the Democrats, we've got Governor Kathy Hochul in New York. Why does she have that job as governor? That's because Gropey McGropeface, Mr. McGroper, the former governor, Andrew Cuomo, had sexually assaulted so many women that he was forced to step down. And he said, hey, I'll pick my replacement, and it'll be this Democrat hack, Kathy Hochul. And Kathy Hochul today is looking at firing. The governor of New York has the authority to fire any mayor in New York, apparently. And she's talking about firing the mayor of New York City, our most populous city. And he was elected by the people. They're undemocratic. They're anti-democratic. They had to destroy democracy in order to save it because Sieg Heil Democrat Party. Speaking of which, I got an update on that, too, because they are the Sieg Heil Democrat Party. But Kathy Hochul talking about going to New York City to fire the mayor there. The mayor had, 4 deputy mayors resign on him. 4 deputy mayors in New York resigned on him. And now they're going to work for Communist China or something like that. And they have this cop-hating racist that they're talking about making the mayor of New York if the undemocratic governor, who was undemocratically installed as governor of New York, comes down and undemocratically fires the mayor of New York and then undemocratically appoints a new racist. And the new racist is a virulent anti-police radical, an extremist. So Kathy Hochul is looking at abusing her power because she calls herself a Democrat, and that's what they do. Always keep in mind, the Democratic Party isn't. Friendly fire isn't. Common courtesy isn't. Common sense isn't. And boy, the Democratic Party isn't. They're quite amazing. So they're talking about doing that. And in the meantime, did you see the Jew haters were on another jihad in Brooklyn last night? Violence in Brooklyn from the violent mob. And half of them are bloodthirsty jihadis from hell. And the other half are just mainstream Democrat Jew haters, which they've made very fashionable. And there was plenty of violence in Brooklyn with they went to it is one of the largest Orthodox Jewish communities in the world. There aren't that many because the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler murdered so many Jews that a lot of the Orthodox Jewish communities around the world were exterminated. It's called the Holocaust. And the Socialist Workers' Party, they did some of their best work there, I guess. And now the Democrat Party has picked up the mantle. They've taken the torch, as it were, and passed the baton. But you know what they do with the baton? You don't even want to know. And amazing stuff. So the violent mob attacked the Jews, Orthodox Jews, in an Orthodox Jewish neighborhood in Brooklyn, New York last night. And Kathy Hochul, she's having an emergency meeting. The governor, the Democrat governor of New York, she's having an emergency meeting today to ask people whether she should remove the mayor of New York City. But no emergency meeting about the genocidal Jewish Kristallnacht event in Brooklyn, New York last night, because she doesn't care. That's the only thing you can conclude from that, because they're the left. And Adolf Hitler, I know, extreme right-winger, who called himself the Socialist Workers' Party of Germany. But pay no attention to that. They're amazing. And and they're using the Russian playbook again, aren't they? We've even got somebody else talked about that last night. The Democrats using the Russian playbook. They use it all the time. They accuse you of doing whatever they're doing. That's the Russian playbook. And that's the left. They're not liberals. They're the left. And they're an appalling, grotesque political organization. They call themselves the Democratic Party. They're very undemocratic. And they certainly don't want you looking into waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government and the trillions and trillions of dollars that nobody's tracking, that they can't account for. And if you want to just peek under the hood and say, hey, where are these trillions of dollars going? They will wage jihad against you. They'll do everything they can to stop you from even looking at where the government money is going. And that government money is our money. That's taxpayer money. And the Democrat Party is planning on stealing it and putting it to good use, buying lake houses and boats and airplanes and, buying lots of crack for their kids and their hookers, because they're the Democrat Party. Speaking of Hunter Biden and all of that, just amazing. Also, we have this anti-Trump Judge Chutkan. It's not a very good name. Chutkan. Judge Chutkan yesterday rejected a call from Democratic attorneys general across the country, state attorneys general, for a temporary restraining order. They wanted to block the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk and his underlings, from having access to enter any federal data. Never mind that they represent the federal government and the White House and the President of the United States. The left is planning on using lawfare, so they got this radical judge and said, well, she always goes with the Democrat Party. So she will obstruct justice, like all good Democrats in positions of authority do. And it turned out they didn't get what they paid for. It's got to be very, very upsetting to them, I think, because that's what they pay them off for. That's not what they pay them for. It's what they pay them off for. All right? And Judge Chutkan, appointed by Barack Obama, actually made the correct legal decision. Said, no, the President of the United States does have the authority to look at federal computers, shocking as that may be. And his representatives, therefore, have the legal authority to look at government computers, you gang of communist hacks. So Judge Chutkan rejects a call from Democratic, this is the CNN headline, no less, they're all Democrats, they're all obstructionists, they should probably all be arrested and put in a gulag. Democratic AGs for temporary restraining order, a TRO, I like to call it a TRO, order blocking DOJ's access to federal data. The Democrats trying to block, why would they go to court and get a Barack Obama judge in the hope that the court would stop Elon Musk and his people, a special government employee working directly for the President of the United States, the richest man in the world, one of the most successful people in the history of the world, an innovator and inventor, just a Renaissance genius of our time, and they're doing everything they can to throw themselves in front of the train and stop progress. They're anti-progress. So a federal judge declined on Tuesday to temporarily block Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency from accessing federal data systems at a slew of executive branch agencies. That's because the president is the chief executive of the executive branch. The decision by U.S. District Judge and Obama appointee, but they always leave that out. Unless it's a Bush appointee or a Trump appointee, then they always put it in. Tanya Chutkin. Is she a man? I'm just curious because you know how the Democrats are. Is an early blow. What? I'm sorry. What? To efforts by a group of Democratic state attorneys general to hamstring Musk and Doge as they undertake efforts to upend the federal workforce. That's CNN's line. No, they're finding waste, fraud, and abuse, and CNN should be interested in that. But CNN is just another corrupt Democrat Party front group. I say that as an alum of this disgraceful organization. So we got that going on. How much are we paying to study transgender animals? The Democrats have a lot of gender issues. And we are at 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. Ah, yes. Oh, we got the Kennedy Center. We've got Eric. The Democrats are very undemocratic. Just ask Eric Adams. We've got the Democrat Party is, they're like jihadis or the Socialist Workers' Party in Germany. They don't like the Jews. They do like transgender animals and children, though. Very unwell. And government waste, government fraud, government abuse. They love those. Those serve them very well. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Ken, calling from Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Ken, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris. It's a joy to be with you. I just love your program every single morning.
Thank you.
I'm calling with 3 good reasons why Trump's name for the Gulf of America is the most accurate and the most appropriate name for that body of water.
Excellent.
Reason number 1, on the globe, the Western Hemisphere contains 2 continents, North America and South America. Mexico, we often forget, is in North America, along with the U.S. and Canada. Mm-hmm. Calling that body of water the Gulf of Mexico excludes the U.S., while calling it the Gulf of America includes both Mexico and the U.S. Finally, the name America for our continent predates the name of Mexico on European maps. We were named America in 1507, and Mexico got its name from Cortez in 1521.
I love that. That is just beautiful. That is great. I love history. Isn't history great?
History is great. And it's not, unfortunately, none of this is in the executive order. He could have saved himself a lot of trouble.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I'm going to see if we can't get you a job down at the White House. You could clarify things before they put out memos. That was great. I got to say, we've been talking about Ken. And I'm sorry, Ken, I wish we had more time. It was one of those clock out things that I didn't have the option of going long. But Ken from South Carolina, just great on President Trump renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And great, I pulled up my Google Earth, which I'm in the habit of doing multiple times a day. Pulled up my Google Earth where it says Gulf of America, by the way, and that has the Democrats furious, too, because it's just one of their many mental illnesses. It genuinely is. But if you look at the map of the world, it's worth noting, I think, that in the Western Hemisphere, as Ken said, you have the Americas. And you might refer to North America, the continent on which the United States resides, and South America, where a great many countries, and I've visited a great many of them too, not all of them, but a great many of them in South America. And it's a very nice continent, and it's called South America. Then you get through Central America. It's not Central Mexico, is it? No, it's not. Is it South Mexico, Michael? No, it's South America. It's named for Amerigo Vespucci. Amerigo Vespucci. And Ken made great points. So you've got North America with Canada and the United States and Mexico, and Central America. It's called America as North America, not North Mexico. Central America, not Central Mexico. There is a Central Mexico, but that's not Tegucigalpa, Nicaragua, Guatemala. They all love to break into a Spanish accent. Liberals do when they start using words like Costa Rica. They do things like that. Panama, but it's true. The Gulf resides, it's North America, we wrap around it. Mexico is, a part of it, but how much? More than Florida? Huh? What? Amazing. So I love that. And who got their name first, America or Mexico? Come on, Cortez, 1507, all that good stuff. Wonderful. Ken was great. I'm going to take with me what Ken shared, and I'm gonna use that at dinner tables and over beers and stuff. These are the Americas, not the Mexicos. Am I right? Is Ken right? Ken is right. Of course he's right. So that was great stuff. Another brilliant listener calling in from South Carolina. Ken, doing a great job. Wonderful stuff. I picked up stuff from that. I'm going to use that, Ken, starting in a minute. I just did it now, too. All right, now the Democrat Party, again, completely berserkazoid. One of the stories that I wanted to share with you, because they're just wackadoodle-doo, aren't they? And I did this story. I made a passing mention, I think, on the radio show yesterday. And I know that we talked about it on Newsmax last night, too. But you see, the Democrats, completely nuts. The Democrats like to use our money, and this is why they don't want you looking into where the money is going. One more reason they don't want you looking into where the money is going. But the Democrats have spent millions and millions of our taxpayer dollars on transgender animal experimentation. What is it with them and transgender lunacy? This is a disorder that they have, and it's time we started saying it out loud. This is a disorder that the Democrat Party has been afflicted with. And the House Oversight Committee, I've got it off of Just the News, John Solomon's great site. Just the News. House Oversight, that's the House Representatives, the Oversight Committee looking for government waste, fraud, and abuse. House Oversight finds $241 million. Now, how much does the average taxpayer over the course of a lifetime pay into the coffers of the federal government in taxes and income taxes and other taxes over the course of your whole lifetime? And so how many Americans who have jobs and go to work and pay federal taxes, how many Americans would it take to spend their whole lifetime, all of these many, I would think thousands and thousands of Americans will spend their entire lifetimes paying into the federal coffers so that some sexually demented Democrats in Congress can fork over $241 million to spend it on transgender programs for animals. For animals. Now, what are they doing with these transgender animals? Is this a matter of sexual desire with them? Because I think that's illegal in a lot of states, maybe not California. But Congressman Eli Crane, the Republican from Arizona, says the House Oversight Committee uncovered that $241 million in taxpayer funds was used to study transgender surgeries and treatments on animals. And they're torturing animals, too. Are they beagles? Because you know how Anthony Fauci loved to torture to death beagles with their flappy little ears, happy little puppies, their tongues hanging out, until Fauci gets a hold of them. Representative Crane says that the committee also discovered Dr. Anthony Fauci, the former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, not a good name for an organization, authorized 95% of these transgender animal experiments. what is more disturbing than that, I think, is that somebody else authorized the other 5%. So how many people do you have lined up to okay spending money on transgender experiments on animals? You people need help and possibly legal charges against you for burning piles of taxpayer dollars for your ridiculous mental they have these programs, and they're all over the place. In Guatemala, we're spending money on transgender. In Pakistan, we're spending money on transgender. And it's 100% because the Democrat Party has very serious sexual issues. They genuinely do. I can't feel sorry for them because right now I'm just feeling a little bit of contempt for them because they're stealing the Treasury blind, robbing it blind. Amazing stuff. Speaking of transgender Democrats, here's an amazing story out of the Baltimore Banner, because the Washington Post doesn't cover the news. 3 members of a violent cult-like Zizian group. These are it's a transgender death cult. These are people, not animals, although they behave as animals behave. 3 members of violent cult-like Zizian group arrested in Western Maryland. And they've got, it's a, Baltimore Banner, the paper here. And I've mentioned to you before the Zizians that the FBI has been looking for because these Democrats are demented. They dress up like ladies and they murder people. The group is linked to several killings, including the recent murder of a Border Patrol agent in Vermont near the Canadian border. A widespread search for 3 Zizians. That's Zizian. That's what a Zizian is. And members of a cult-like group connected to at least 6 deaths across the country. Those would be murders, each of the deaths. Came to an end Sunday in Western Maryland. Western Maryland, it's so nice and peaceful out there. Amazing stuff. Ziz. That's one of the cult leaders goes by Ziz. That's why they're Zizians, Z-I-Z. Also known as Jack LaSoda, he's got a regular name, is the Zizians' mysterious leader. Honestly, you people, what about like the Proud Boys and white supremacists and all this? Amazing stuff. Jack LaSoda, known as the Zizians' mysterious leader, was arrested by the Maryland State Police Sunday evening alongside Michelle Zajko, right? Z-A-J-K-O, Eastern European, and Daniel Blank, authorities said. The 3 of them, they're Zizians. They're arrested in the 1000 block of Piney Mountain Road in Frostburg. I've been to Frostburg. It's beautiful. LaSoda and Zisco are charged with firearm and trespassing offenses. Blank faces a trespassing charge, no firearms for him. All 3 are charged with obstructing authorities and are being held in the Allegheny County Jail. Further details about the Maryland charges against LaSoda, who uses she, her pronouns. He is a man, uses she, her pronouns. Zatko and Blank were not readily available on Monday. The more details, that is. The Maryland State Police said only the agency was working with federal authorities. Got to look out for them, too. And the local prosecutor's office, neither the Allegheny County State Attorney's Office nor the FBI or U.S. Border Patrol returned a request for comment. Courts and many government agencies were closed in observance of President's Day, so they're having trouble on Monday reporting on the story. But wait a minute, they're looking at U.S. Border Patrol, so we're talking about illegal alien transgender people? Is that what we got here? An offshoot of a Berkeley, California area nationalist movement, naturally. The Zizians have a fairly complex set of beliefs because of all the mental illnesses and everything. They seek to understand human cognition. They are anarchists and radical vegans. Radical vegans. What is a radical vegan? Anyway, what do they smear the vegans all over their body. What are they? Lazota, a former computer programmer, somebody taught him to code. Maybe he used to work on a pipeline or something. Believes that the two hemispheres of the human brain can operate separately from one another. That's important. With one side holding different beliefs, that means he's schizophrenic and existing as a different gender than the other side. See, the Associated Press reported that they believe that your left brain can be female and your right brain male, and then you are a train wreck of a human being and your family disowns you. As leader of the Zizians, Lazota tended to target what he called smart, mostly autistic-ish trans women, meaning men who are completely screwed up, who are extremely vulnerable and isolated. Don't they all? That's what Charles Manson did too, I think. For recruitment, he's looking to recruit mostly autistic-ish trans women who are extremely vulnerable and isolated. That's the San Francisco Chronicle reporting on and quoting Lazota, who's also Zizian group has been linked to killings across the country, and Lazota and Zetko appear to be at the center of the cases, though the exact role of Lazota, who faked his death in 2022, is unclear. That's kind of weird because Michael Piercy faked his death in 2022 also, but he came back in about 10 minutes, so it was okay. She, meaning, I don't know, it's hard to say because they're genderless and they're Democrats. She's been seen at crime scenes, questioned by authorities, and in one earlier instance, arrested on charges of obstructing police in Pennsylvania. Now, you see, the federal law enforcement official gunned down in Vermont near the Canadian border by the transgender death cult. A couple in Pennsylvania, an older couple, murdered in Pennsylvania, older man, older woman, married couple, and that's, back when, before the Democrats were in charge, when a couple was a man and a woman, see, and they were married and they had children and there was a family, and the Democrats are after that because they're very mentally ill. Zazko, the alleged woman, is considered a person of interest in her parents' killings in Pennsylvania. The same case, Lazota was arrested in connection as well to the killing of her parents. Blank, who was Zazko's roommate in Vermont, also involved in the case of killing the parents in Pennsylvania and then killing a federal law enforcement official in Vermont because, So it's a transgender death cult. Now, wasn't there, Michael, there was another transgender killer story in the last week, right? And did we grab a story on that? No, we didn't. And, there was another transgender. It was going to be another school massacre by a transgender person. And this one was a woman pretending to be a man, like at the Christian school, the transgender woman pretending to be a man that massacred people at the Christian school in Kentucky, Tennessee, right? It's hard to keep track of all the Democrat Party transgender psychopathic behavior. It generally is. The violent cross-country story begins in 2019 when a group of them, including Lazota, were arrested in California. They were protesting another national philosophy group. They've got nationalist philosophy groups. These people are very unwell, aren't they? Yes, they are. Yeah. And then Lazota, who's a man, resurfaced in the news in August 2022 when she, meaning he, apparently faked her, meaning his, own death after reportedly falling off a boat in the San Francisco Bay. Could have resolved itself very handily there. Coast Guard searched for her, meaning his body, but nothing was found. An obituary was published. Then months later, he reappeared saying that he's she. The Democrat Party has done this to a lot of people. When should the Democrat Party be banned in the United States of America? They should move to Mexico, and then they could call it the Gulf of Mexico. Just amazing. Your Democrat Party. And we're spending tens and tens of millions of dollars studying transgender surgeries on animals because the Democrats have a lot of issues today. We are at 888-630-9625. I went and I found last week's transgender massacre that was stopped in Indiana, and I shared this with you last week. Trinity Shockley, 18 years old, charged with conspiracy to commit murder and 2 terrorism-related charges. Morgan County Court in Indiana just was obsessed with the Parkland school massacre. And the transgender person, Trinity Shockley, 18 years old, a young woman who goes by the name Jamie, and said that she was transgender and really a man and was armed and ready to perpetrate a school massacre on Valentine's Day because, you know, I'm beginning to think there might be something wrong with transgender people. What about you? Let's go to Rick calling from Elmwood Park, New Jersey. Ricardo, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Yes, Chris, I agree. Transgender people should have psychiatric evaluation. I just wanted to mention I want to thank Lee Zeldin for stopping $50 million going to the ClimateJusticeAlliance.org, which are Hamas supporters. And their motto is, the path to climate justice travels through a free Palestine. So we're paying for the website. We're paying for anti-Israel protests. And I want to get them to find out how much money came back from all this money that went out, how much money came back to the DNC. And that's when the Democrats will start going to jail. That's why they're freaking out right now, because they know they're headed to jail.
Because they send out literally billions of dollars to their political allies in the environmental movement and the radical pro-Hamas, anti-Israel movement and the transgender movement and transgender animals, and they're funding lunatics all over the place. And you're right, Lee Zeldin saying, hey, here's $50 million. And we've got a news media that shrugs and says, it's only $50 million. But the Climate Justice Alliance funneling money to radical Islamic terrorist group, and the Democrats are thrilled to fund their lunatic fringe climate pro-Hamas genocidal anti-Semite movement. I've got a bunch of that coming up in New York and Los Angeles, too. Thank you, Rick.